be an interesting forum today, we hope. The purpose of the forum, just so some of you realize or understand, is to really try, if we can, to go through the agenda items for Monday's board meeting. And if you have any questions, now's the time to ask questions, because those of you who attend the board meetings understand that at the board meeting you can only make comments, no questions. Okay? So what's on the agenda for Monday is to approve the golf course and common areas maintenance contract, approve some capital expenditures related to the clubhouse repairs and expansion, approve the board task roles and responsibilities, that's the board task groups, approve an individual for the architecture review committee, and approve modifications of some bylaws that we have, and approve changing tee times to shotgun starts, and approve the clubhouse closure committee members. So those are the items on the agenda that we can certainly entertain any questions that you may have. But let me first start off by indicating that on number 1, you approve the golf course and common areas maintenance contractor. There will be a recommendation going to the board that the board will be asked to approve Valley Crest as the golf course maintenance contractor. As you may be aware, we went through a bidding process, sent out bids to 5 companies. There were quite honestly one who didn't reply back. 3 were bounced out immediately because they didn't comply with the request for proposal specifications. And that left us down to 2 companies. And to tell you the truth, really 4 really didn't comply, which left us only really Valley Crest. But we entertained the one who didn't meet all the specifications, which the name of the company was One Source, because they came in significantly lower than Valley Crest. And so we felt on the technicality we couldn't dismiss them. We had to sort of dig in and find out why were they so much lower than Valley Crest. And so it turned out to be really a bidding contest between One Source and Valley Crest. And as it turned out, the reason why they were the first company, One Source, was so low is that they really weren't meeting the same specifications that we were holding Valley Crest to. So, to make a long story short, once we got comparable data in terms of what they were going to do, One Source in the golf course versus what Valley Crest is currently doing, it turned out that in the final bidding proposal, Valley Crest actually came in lower than One Source. So for that reason, we're going with Valley Crest. I'll give you the numbers just so you know. For, if I can read this, Valley Crest bid, around these numbers. Valley Crest bid came in at $930,000. Again, after all the data was comparable, and One Source came in at roughly $947,000. So we saved roughly about 17 grand between the 2. I think the other point that you folks should be aware of is even that $930,000 from Valley Crest, that's $80,000 less than what we had in the budget for Valley Crest. So that's an immediate savings. The other thing you should be aware of is both companies, both One Source and Valley Crest, we're going to put in additional services in the contract that we're not currently doing now, such as a curfew for, what do they call it? Yeah, nematodes, worms and stuff like that. But that's something we hadn't done before that they're going to do, and in essence, they're doing it at no charge. So there are additional savings, about $40,000 or $50,000 that will come to the association. Although we won't see it in actual money being saved, not going out the door, they're doing additional services for us, in essence, at no charge. The other thing, it's a 5-year contract. There is a 90-day out, though, with both parties can exit the contract with 90-day notice. The increases for the 5 years, One Source increase would have been flat from year 2 to 1, second year, and then thereafter would have been 2% per year, whereas Valley Crest is the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, each year. So we think those were probably fairly comparable in terms of how those increases would affect us. So, all right, so that's sort of the information I wanted to give you. I guess the other things would be then to open it up for any questions that you may have that Bill or I can answer.
Say there was 80,000 less than budget. How does that compare to last year's price or the last contract price?
That's a good question. I don't have that information here.
When we signed the 3-year contract back in 2008, it had scheduled increases every year, and the residents that negotiated it had approximately a 4 to 6% increase every year. They put it in the contract. Valley Crest did not ask for that. Valley Crest was going to do consumer price index. So we had those increases every year. I believe it was around 45 or 50,000 from last year to the new contract growth. It goes through 11. Their current contract doesn't end until April 30th of 11. They have agreed, though, with the new contract, especially because it results in savings to us. The contract is at our attorneys right now. I'm getting it back Monday morning after the board votes, and it's official that Valley Crest has been awarded the 5-year contract. Then we'll send the contract to their attorneys, and we're hopeful to have this new contract signed by the 15th of February. If that's the case, from the 15th of February until April 30th, that's when the savings will go into effect that Kevin's talking about. It won't be a pure 80,000 this first year, because the way I wrote the contract, I wrote it so we stay on calendar years, so this first year will end December 31st of 2011, and then 4 more years on calendar year. Before they ended in April, it was hard for us, Kevin and I, doing the budget, because they were half year into our budget every time. So now they're going to budget, they're going to fall into our budget. So it's a much better situation. And like Kevin said, we wrote 2 exhibits right out of the RFP. Before, we didn't have performance schedules for the common ground and performance schedules for the golf course. We wrote them into the RFP, so there's no saying I didn't know this, or I didn't know I was supposed to cut the greens every day. I didn't know I was supposed to do the bunkers 3 times a week. All of that is in graphs. And if anybody would like to see that information, once the board's approved the contract, I will be more than happy to sit down with you and show it to you. This is the most in-depth contract that's ever been written. There's just no way either side can say, we've got everything in there we need. They have everything in there they need, and it's very, very detailed. And we did that for a reason.
But I guess to answer your question maybe a little bit more specifically, is in the budget this year we have $1,010,000, and Valley Crest went up 4%. So if you just assume 4% on $1 million, it's about 40 grand. So if you take 40 grand off the $1,010,000, we were probably at a budget last year at 970, and now they're coming in at 930.
It was 976.
So yeah, so those are round numbers. But, okay, anybody else?
There were other bidders, and some of them were lower. Why did we pick out Crest over them? Some of those national.
No, Joe. There was 5 bidders, like Kevin said. 1 IGM chose not to bid. 2 other bidders did not remotely close to meet the specification, so they were disqualified. Like Kevin said, in actuality, one source should have been disqualified because they also did not meet the specification, clearly did not meet it. And the number was a very low number. But based on the fact, we felt that based on the fact that the number was so low, if they could do the work for that number, and we could save that much money, that we had a fiduciary obligation to the residents to take a look at it. Once I set up a schedule, I took schedules and put all of the maintenance requirements in a schedule, and I sent it to one source. Their bid went up $100,000 when I got that first letter back, up to $890. Then, when we met with them, I found out they were going to cut all the benefits to the hourly employees and make them pay 100% of their own benefits. We told them they had to keep the crew whole. And they weren't going to do the curfew application, which was a $36,000 application. They probably should have been disqualified then, because they didn't meet it still. But because of the number, we kept them in. That's when Kevin, like Kevin said, when they came back with what we call their last and final, it was 946. When Valley Crest came in, it was 929. So when we got apples to apples, Valley Crest was clearly the lead. But the other reason that Kevin didn't mention, we have a 5.5-year relationship with Valley Crest. We know them. They know us. We've seen what they've done in this community for our golf course and our common ground. In my mind, that was the reason I was going forward. Even if there had been a discrepancy, if Valley Crest would not have been the lowest bidder, if it would have been reasonable, I was prepared to ask the board to keep Valley Crest based on the relationship we have. And the things they've done, like the nursery green, they paid $5,000 for it and never charged us. They've done a number of different things around here. We had, you may not know this past winter we had winter kill. If you remember, this time last year we were in the 20s and teens. We had $40,000 worth of winter kill. Valley Crest paid out of their own budget $28,000 replacing sod, and we paid $18,000. There was no obligation. That was not their fault. The winter kill was just it was a weather issue, but they just went ahead and replaced $28,000 when they got that high. They, Tommy and I talked. I said, "You paid enough. It's time that the association pays the rest." So they've done a number of things over the last 3 years, and after the last 5.5 years, that they deserve this contract. They deserve the loyalty they showed us. You know, I believe that, especially now that they're low bidder, they totally deserve this contract. I have a great relationship with Tommy Land. I had a great relationship with Dave, the regional vice president, and had a great relationship with Terry, the vice president of North American operations.
Did that answer your question?
Is that a combined contract, golf course and common area?
Yeah, yes, it does. And Kevin and I.
It's not broken down.
Yeah, it is broken down. And we asked them to do that this time. We asked all bidders to break their contract down for 3 ways: golf course, common ground, CDD. To them, it's one contract, but to us, it's 3. Obviously, the CDD is separate. The first contract that Kevin negotiated back in 2005, it was all one number, and then we paid the CDD. It's no longer like that. CDD has their own, but obviously, they're going to go with Valley Crest because you can't have 2 different companies using the same equipment. So they're just waiting for our board to approve it. And then once that happens, they're going to meet, I believe, at the end of next week. They're going to approve the Valley Crest Reserve benefit of the CDD. But it is broken down. It's broken down right now. It came out both. The one source of Valley Crest came out. I think one source was 78.22, and Valley Crest was 79.21. 79% was the expense for the golf course. 21% to take care of the contract. And that's how it's in the contract. It's to be billed that way. Hey, Tommy. Tommy Land is here.
I don't know if you heard, Tommy, but the message to the residents is that we'll be presenting a recommendation to the board to sign Valley Crest the contract for the golf course. Still has to be approved by the board. Any other questions?
Kevin? Get Gary. I think most of you know Gary Wynn. He's our facilities director. I'm going to just have him, since there's no other questions, take this opportunity to have him give you a little quick update on the construction.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon to you. As you know, we're all under construction here, and I'm all excited about it after being here for 6 years and being involved in a lot of the upkeep of the clubhouse and the community here. So where we're at now, we're at about 60% with the roof. They were behind a little bit because of the weather we've had. They've played catch up on last Saturday. We are now on the east end of the clubhouse on the back side with the tear off, and they're going to be here tomorrow shingling. The doors started to go in today. We started with the east end of the clubhouse. We're going to work around the back end of the clubhouse doing the doors. We're going to start next week on the windows, the upper windows, over the craft room. The siding, we're still moving forward with all the siding coming off. The stucco, the upper stucco is done on the dormers and on all the high areas. And on the front of the clubhouse here in front of the Performing Arts Center, they're doing the stucco today. So we're moving right along. We are on schedule. We gave the board a March, end of March for completion. We look like we're doing very well as far as the timeline.
Another quick update on the expansion. As I think most of you know, we're looking to try to expand the front of the clubhouse, take this opportunity to blend both reserve and capital to benefit the residents by expanding that out. That's where the wood shop's going to be relocated to. There's going to be a meeting room there, which is going to help us with like closing the Magnolia room or the craft room or these other rooms for small meetings. It's going to be about the size of a 20-person meeting room. So that's going to be extremely helpful. There's going to be offices for the food and beverage managers. So I think most of you know they office right now in the dressing room over here. So there's going to be those offices. Kim, our property manager, my assistant, is going to have an office, expanded office. And then we're going to move Marcia and Terry, our accounts payable receivable person, into her own office. If any of you all have been back in my office in that office area, I know the board members are grinning, but it's pathetic. It really is. We work with it. Marcia and I really don't care. We're not looking for any new, but we needed to get, literally Kim and Terry sit this far apart at their desks, back to back. It's not very functional. And with Kim being a property manager, she needs areas to have meetings and with our village presidents, with me, that type of thing.